All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what time it is. Right here, right now, we actually got a phenomenal hip hop veteran right here live on the line. We have Skyy right here, right now. How are you doing this evening?
Pretty good. How's everybody doing out there? Love y'all.
Oh man, doing best I can possibly be down here in Canada, man. How's everything with yourself out there in Vegas, man? You are in like Sin City, man. So
I have not made it to Vegas yet. I had to extend my stay here in Missouri for another couple of weeks, so I'm looking to get out of here next week. I just made a round trip to the airport, about 200 miles, scrambling to get back to make sure I was on time for our interview. And life is happening. I've had some brushes with death in the last couple of years. God got me through that, and He's keeping me moving and keeping me connected to all the people that have mattered in my life throughout, my entire youth and adult years. So I'm looking forward to some amazing things happening in the very near future.
hey man, I gotta say I'm definitely glad that you were actually still here with us today, man. But I have to ask, man, because me personally, I've never had the opportunity to visit Las Vegas, man. So what's the first thing you plan on doing after you get settled in Vegas? Like, do you plan on hitting up a casino or having a little party, or what's your first plan after you get settled into Las Vegas?
Well, when I get settled in, the main thing will be connecting with all the people I need to get connected to. I've got some musical interests that are out there. I've got some film interests that are out in that region. So I'm going to get back into doing music and film again and pursuing a pet project of mine, which is something that has always been close to my heart. I'm going to open up a large-scale animal rescue. So that's one of the main things that I'm trying to focus on, something that will help benefit communities across the country and, try to make a positive impact in people's lives, because it negatively affects a lot of people, from the people who have to experience animals running around their hoods to people who have to take them into the shelters, and then they end up getting overcrowded and have to deal with, euthanizing. And it's kind of a mess. But what I have is kind of inspired by a deal they got going on down in Costa Rica. It's called Territorio de los Guates. And they have a lot of animals they take. They have a free-range type operation where they take the animals out, and you can literally run with them and decide which animal you want to adopt, from there. And something along those lines is what I'm planning on here.
And also, CJ, I got to take you back to the beginning of your amazing career within the music industry this far, man. And I have to ask, what originally inspired you just to actually get into music, man? Because you are a phenomenal artist.
Well, initially, I was in middle school, about 7th grade, in Audubon Junior High in Los Angeles, California, and I used to hear hip-hop artists on the radio from back east, like the Sugar Hill Gang, Treacherous 3, and the ability that they had to express, poetic verses to music, it just was something that really clicked with me. So I began immediately writing at that point. And we're talking 1981 to maybe 1983, 84, I was really just developing, my abilities. And by 1985, I was actually doing stuff that people wanted to put on record. So that's kind of how it blossomed from there. I've had a lot of inspirations over the years, watching LL Cool J come into the game and Rakim come into the game. On the West Coast, we had Toddy T, Mixmaster Spade, Ice-T. I kind of grew up in the same age bracket as Cube. I think I'm about a couple of years older than Cube, but we actually had an opportunity one time where a crew I was affiliated with at Washington High School, we had an actual rap battle out in front of the high school in 1985. So it was not a conventional battle like they do now, but it was just the fact that MCs used to be able to get together and just test each other's skills and basically show each other that, if I'm not able to beat this person in the battle, I need to level up, and guys were leveling up left and right back then. I watched WC go from beatboxing, to actually spitting lyrics and becoming the phenomenon he is now. So that is, one of the amazing things that I was able to experience in my lifetime. We were neighbors growing up. We grew up around the corner from each other.
So when you say you actually got the rap battle in '85, did you actually get the opportunity to rap battle Ice Cube?
Yeah, Ice Cube, KD. I think you interviewed KD before. Sir Jinx. They were called the Stereo Crew back then. They came up to the school, and we didn't do like a conventional battle rap. We created a song that was based on a song that was popular on the radio in that day, and we just won the crowd that day. And at that time, I was affiliated from Washington High School. It was another rapper called Wizard G and a rapper called Ocean, you know, and they had a little group that they had put together. I didn't go to Washington full time, but I went there for that summer school year, and that's how we ended up linked up together. And through him, I met a lot of other phenomenal artists like Michael Salisbury, who was from Portrait, Herb Calhoun, who was known as H.C. Smooth back then. He goes by Rafiq Sadiq right now, and he's just recently become a super successful entrepreneur. He's got a multi-million-dollar business going on. So everybody's doing well. You know, I chose to move away from entertainment years ago, but I've even done well just living a regular life in the country. And in spite of the fact that I've been in the country, I've always had links to the business. I've actually helped run a music production studio in California. I started a artist management and development company out there with a partner of mine. And this has been one thing after another that keeps drawing me back, and everybody's like, you got to come back, you got to come and work with us, you got to come do these things. And that's where my head is at right now. I've raised my kids, you know, they're all grown and got kids now, and it's time for me to show what LA has been hiding from the world forever. I've been on a couple of projects that have been out, but they didn't get, like, major airplay. We did a lot of street promotion back in the day. We even, I used to roll with C-Style from the Dog Pound back in the day, and we were in the streets pretty much all the time. Just doing a lot of promotion, a lot of, you know, music-related things, like when Snoop was working on getting his label deal together. I was sitting in meetings for that at Motown and at Interscope Records. And a lot of people never knew, but it's just you sit and you have these conversations. You're looking at, like, the head of the record label just sitting there, and he's asking you, you know, what kind of terms are we looking at? And I'm like, wow, this is a big deal. So I know how the business works. I know how a lot of the artists developed over the years. I remember when Dre was working on the first Chronic album, rolling up there to Solar Records with Corrupt when he was getting ready to drop his verse for Stranded on Death Row. And it's like, to see these things materializing and then watching the finished product come out and watching the impact that they have on the world, it just makes a huge difference, you know, in your life personally, knowing that, man, this is a kid I used to cypher with back in the day. You know, we used to roll around in Inglewood and just kick lyrics, inspiring each other, you know, teaching each other how to level up. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from. A lot of the stuff that people hear, you know, the crew that Corrupt used to roll with back in the day was called Dark Side, which was a group of phenomenal MCs from Southern California. You had Enemy. I think you've interviewed him before. You had Draws. You had Grinch, the mean one, who was on the Tales from the Hood soundtrack with Enemy. And these were cats that I used to kick rhymes with back in the day. So my skills have never been in question, but I've always had the ability to, when it was time for me to shine, I was able to inspire people to want to do more and do better. And that's one of the reasons that I consider myself to be kind of influential in West Coast hip-hop.
And also as well, man, in the year 91, yourself and your colleague Mike actually did the first hip-hop commercial for a major motion picture titled Eva Destruction. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners the story behind this opportunity, and of course, what was it like just working on the soundtrack for that particular film?
Well, we weren't even literally on the soundtrack. It was a deal that happened. My friends and I, we went to Westwood. We used to do karaoke out there in Westwood, so we went karaoke in one night, and we were up there singing. People heard our voices and our harmony, and they were like, you guys record professionally? And we were like, well, you know, kind of, we're working on our own stuff now. And they said, well, we got an opportunity for you. They gave us the contact information, and we went down. They told us what we needed to do. It was literally a 30-second spot. It aired on TV and radio. And it was like the biggest music payday that I had ever had up to that point. You know, I was like, wow, they really pay this kind of money for just a few minutes work. It didn't take me but maybe 5 or 6 minutes to get my part done, and I didn't have to record anymore. But it was very lucrative. I looked to do other commercials, but it seems that when the opportunities were coming up, one of the recurring themes in my life is that people like to exclude me from projects, thinking that I was just going to kind of take off and leave them behind. And that's never been my mentality. I've always been supportive. That's why on certain things like the movie that my friends and I worked on back in 2004, when it was time to get the thing distributed, we ran into some roadblocks, and I helped come up with some solutions to get that taken care of, and we got our movie out and on the market. So, like I said, if I got people on my team now, and I've been talking to quite a few folks, I got some multi-platinum producers that I'm interested in doing some work with. I know at least one of them you've interviewed already, Mosey. I look forward to trying to work with him in the near future. Look forward to working with Faded on the Beat. And they've got some clientele happening right now as we speak, you know, that are putting out hits and making the charts and making those streams happen online. So I'm not about to go out quietly. I thought I was going to be able to just kind of kick it in the background and, you know, be my own person, but everybody wants me to put my thing out, so it's got to happen. It's going to be a major thing because it's going to be a one-and-done deal. At least 20 tracks on the album, you know, skits, interludes, kind of letting people glimpse into the life that I started out with, the life that I went through, and the life that I'm living now, and give some inspiration to people who are coming up in the business in this day and age, because things are a lot different from when I first started. I had a buddy who used to be with Rhyme Syndicate. When he first heard me back in '84, he asked me if I would write some material for him and his partner, you know, and I started writing for them. So I'm like, I have to make sure that the world remembers my name. You know, artists remember my name. There are entertainers, you know, who are fans of mine who remember my name. There are people who enjoyed my work who are no longer with us, like Jam Master Jay when I did the House of Blues. He had to go out of his way to congratulate me on really rocking the house and putting on a good show that night. The same night, I got to meet Tupac just a few months before he passed away. We talked for a while outside. So the world that we live in is, nothing is guaranteed, but I feel like for some reason I am still here and I'm still being drawn into the music business. So I need to get my project done.
And also,
and that's pretty much where it is now.
And also, while we're actually still on the topic of, you know, you doing movies and whatnot, in 1992, you actually had an uncredited scene in the amazing motion picture film Three Ninjas, where you actually played a ninja guard. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners the story just behind this opportunity, and of course, what was it like just portraying a ninja in, of course, Three Ninjas?
Well, it was kind of chaotic because we weren't traditional ninjas. We were more like the bumbling arm type guard guys. So they gave us our swords, they gave us our rifles and costumes. We got geared up. The opportunity came about through a lady that is like family to me. Her name was Dolores Crenshaw. She was a talent agent back then, and now she is a director and a producer who has a channel on television, Crenshaw Entertainment Television. And Dolores was really hard working on trying to get you into parts that made a difference. What I ended up doing back then was the Three Ninjas role, which was a lot of fun because it taught you about working with the director and actually following directions, camera angles. Okay, we got this camera set up here, so we want you guys to come down these stairs, but don't make eye contact with the camera. You know, it taught you about filmmaking, which that came in handy later when we actually put our film out. Another movie that I was able to participate in was the original Candyman movie. When they did the bonfire scene when Candyman was being burnt in the end, I was one of the spectators in the crowd. So they had big boom cameras out there doing wide-angle shots. Just the general experience of working with that, Another movie was Fear of a Black Hat. I don't know if you remember that movie.
I do, yeah. I believe it came out in like '93, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was a concert spectator in that movie also. So it was like I've had some general experience, but my actual acting experience didn't come until we did our own film. It was more like just taking directions, non-speaking parts, and things of that sort.
And the one thing I have to ask as well, because of course, with Fear of a Black Hat and of course Three Ninjas, you actually were uncredited, which means you weren't in the credits. If you don't mind me asking, why were those roles uncredited for you? Because even though it was such a small role, those roles are still very significant to actually make the film look realistic.
Yeah, that's mostly what happens when you when you do extra work. Extra work, you get per diem paid for it. You get to be in the film, more than likely depending on how they cut and edit the shots. But basically, if you don't have like a speaking part and you're not a contracted person, you sign an agreement, you agree to get paid, you get paid usually the same day, and you don't get actual credit. Your name is not listed in the film credits. So you have to literally, like what I ended up doing, I ended up going on the movie database and I just filled in my information because I was there. They have paperwork showing that I was there. They got paperwork showing that they paid me. So I wanted to make sure that my experience was listed because when other things come up, people want to know that you're at least able to work with the director and take direction. Because Hollywood is real about blacklisting people. If you're difficult to work with, you'll more than likely not get work. You're not an official SAG or AFTRA member. You sign like a temporary thing just to unionize for that particular film operation, and then after that, that's pretty much it. Unless you continue, to do work in the industry. And with those films that I actually worked in, I don't think the duration was really long enough for me to be considered like an active actor at that point. And when Munchies came along, Munchies kind of drug out for quite a while because we put that out in 2004, and it literally hung around for quite a few years. It was online and on Roku channels up until the last couple of years. So it's been out for quite a while.
And also, as well, in 2004, you actually recorded the demo titled Get Pumped. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners the story behind this particular release. And, of course, did you ever get the opportunity to send this particular demo to any record labels?
That I did not. 2004 was kind of my cutoff point. I made a decision to basically stop dealing with entertainment altogether. I ended up moving from California shortly after that in 2005. I came to Missouri. I've been in Missouri almost 18 years, basically dealing with family, and looking after my grandparents, raising my children. Children are grown now. My grandfather passed away. My grandmother is back in California. So I'm winding down things here in my home and getting ready to haul myself back across the country so I can get back into my familiar surroundings. Most of the people that I used to deal with in the LA area have relocated to the Vegas area, which includes some of the music engineers that I work with and some of the artists that I work with. Then there are other artists that are kind of interspersed up and down the West Coast as far south as San Diego and then as far north as the Bay Area. So I'm looking to kind of draw people in, and Vegas being the location it is, people will be more than happy to come to town, and work on stuff with me because there's plenty to do.
And also as well,
I'm looking forward to that.
Immediately following this interview, man, I'm actually going to be playing one of your earlier released songs titled Money Grip. For the listeners that might not have actually had the opportunity to hear this earlier release project, what can they expect from it when I play it here momentarily on 97.7 FM?
Well, consider the fact that I wrote that song. Originally, it was supposed to just be me recording it, but I included a couple of my friends on it. We were independent, trying to really just start doing our own thing. We wanted to do everything. We wanted to do our music production, our lyrics. We wanted to do our video production. So we were putting together an entire ground level organization, and we put the song and the video together ourselves. So it was an effort that ultimately ended up disbanding after we did a couple of tunes, but it got us, started in understanding the value in having an independent operation. A lot of people benefit from signing with labels in certain ways, but signing with labels kind of entrenches you in a lot of debt. Whereas you look at people like Master P, and the operation that he had, he got rich, basically managing all his own stuff. He learned about hiring street teams and getting people out there promoting his music as well as merchandise. Those are all things that I try to still teach artists to this day. And a lot of the artists that I do mentor and work with, they're on that track. I have a younger brother right now from Australia, and he's accomplished wonders. He's already charted on the iTunes charts, and he's doing his thing. He's over in Japan right now making a new video. So I know you probably interviewed him at one point. I Am Snap.
I heard of. I think I have. Yeah, I've done so many interviews. It's like if it's like last year, I got to go back through my archive. It's crazy. I did a lot of interviews, but he definitely sounds familiar. So I most definitely probably talked to him at one point or another.
Yeah, Snap has been very busy. He did a song with one of the Bone Thugs and Harmony members last year, and he's really been on track, cranking out music, cranking out videos. He's got content galore. And I'm really looking for him to make an impact in the industry in the next couple of years because he's out there and he's getting airplay and he's getting streams in. So be on the lookout for him. And we started talking a few years ago. He reached out to me. And this is one of the things that has always happened. I'll be minding my business and somebody will reach out one day and send me a message and say, hey, what do you think about this? And they start asking for my advice and my guidance. I offer it willingly, because I don't want anybody to have to deal with, the negative things that a lot of artists went through that ended up, stunning their careers. I don't want anybody to give up hope, because hope is a very important thing when you're dealing with this particular business. So I encourage that. I encourage people who are dealing with promotions, because promotions are very important. Promotions and artists need to pretty much marry their talents together and keep creating venues. Creating venues creates cash flow, keeps everybody working. As long as everybody's working, the world stays entertained, and they get quality entertainment out of it because people are motivated to continue working. And that's kind of where my head is at. I want to build a music world where people don't have to worry about giving up, and they don't have to worry about slighting other people. They can just get out there and work and create that content and make an impact and get paid for it.
And I have to ask, man, what is next for yourself, CJ Skyy? Is there anything we happen to miss during tonight's broadcast? Anything else you do still want to talk about or promote? Well, we still got you here live on the Canadian FM dial this evening.
So like I said, the main thing is to keep your hope level of whatever you decide to do. But if you're dealing with the music business, if you're into music, never give up. If you have a talent, if you're a musician, never give up. Reach out to people, talk across the board. Don't be afraid to work on paper. A lot of people don't really do that, but it's something that is an avenue that can allow you to get things accomplished without having to fork out a lot of dollars up front. You can sign agreements and have everything laid out on paper, and that way when the windfall comes, everybody just gets their cut and keeps moving forward. I witnessed in the LA industry a lot of brothers that had the potential to just build empires musically just kind of fell by the wayside because it got down to everybody wanted to charge everybody and nobody wanted to work together. And it sounds like it was like a whole lot of ego tripping going on where the love of the music part just kind of fell out of it. And one of the things that I've never lost is the love of the music. I love beats. I've purchased God knows how many beats to get prepared for my project, so I am ready to do my thing. All I have to do now, orchestrate it, get my features together. I'm getting features lined up, and I'm going to give the world something phenomenal to listen to, and something to remember me by, and something to kind of guide them through somebody who literally touched a lot of aspects of the LA music industry, and see where it goes from there.
And also,
maybe somebody will get inspired and become, the next top-selling platinum artist, and I'm looking to inspire that.
And also, CJ, this is the time in the interview quickly, man, that I give a chance for the individual that does slide into the radio station airwaves, just a chance to give, shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to, but most of all, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated on everything you got going on, if they're not already doing so.
Yeah, on Twitter, I'm at CJ Skyy, CJSKYY. On Instagram, at CJ Skyy45. And Facebook, Charles CJ Skyy Jackson.
And I gotta say,
anybody can follow my content there. I have an intention on creating an outlet for writers to publish their material, so I'm working on that too. That's going to be under Park Media Works. That's going to be another venture that I have coming out. And that way, if a person is a writer and doesn't necessarily want to become an artist, but they want to, submit material and get people to consider it, I want to have that outlet available to where people can say, hey, I like this. I'm going to go ahead and buy this material or whatever. And that's another thing that I've been working on putting together for a couple of years now.
And I gotta say, first and foremost, CJ, thank you so much, man, for just giving us a bit of your time here this evening. And also, I gotta say as well, man, thank you for just, showing my radio station support for all these years, man. Since we actually first got connected, you've done nothing but support my radio station, man. So for that, I just gotta say publicly, thank you so much for all the love and support you've shown myself and my platform.
Well, I appreciate what you do, and I thank you for having me. I do want to give a shout-out to my IE family, especially my bro, Dirty Birdie. He's a man who's got some phenomenal background in this industry and is coming out with new material, and he's going to be one to watch out for in the future. My boy, I Am Snap, over there in Japan doing his thing right now. We've become like brothers. Pretty much everybody that I encounter and draw close to, we become like family. So I've got a big musical family now. And my people from Long Beach, my people from L.A., my people from the Bay Area, San Diego. I'm pulling for everybody to stay on top. I'm pulling for everybody to stay alive and healthy. And I got nothing but love for all of you.
And I gotta say, CJ, again, thank you so much, man, for just giving us a bit of your time here this evening. I'm pretty sure we definitely shall talk again soon. But for now, man, definitely have yourself a phenomenal night.
Thank you very much, Mortal. You do the same, my brother.
Hey, man, I definitely shall try, man. Thank you so much again, CJ.
All right, good night.